We remember. Welcome to the Raven's Eyes segment. Now, today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the climactic few scenes of the final act of this episode. I thought a lot about which ones to do this episode, since this is the last episode where we get to see young Rhaenyra and young Alicent, and saying goodbye to those two fantastic actors. I look forward to seeing what they do from this point forward. But let's talk about Westeros and weddings. Now, the cinematography of this particular episode is very, very, very telling. When we begin the wedding, when everyone's coming in and you've got a whole lot of symbolism of grandeur, of largeness. Now, this particular wedding was very much the cinematic expression of Viserys as king from beginning to end. We start with grandness. We start with a huge hall with all of the candles and everyone with all of their Sunday best and the huge table. But as we look a little closer, it's just him and Princess Rhaeray. Where's his queen? Oh, she's still getting ready. And all of the shots are very large to show how big the hall is, how many people are there, what the throne room of King's Landing looks like when they're having people over and they decide to turn the lights on and, not necessarily pick up all the swords on the ground, but, turn the lights on, set up a table, have some other people there. And as the show progresses and we go from take a look at this family and all of their machinations, our shots become tighter and tighter, and we go from grandeur and best laid plans of mice and men, and yes, I said that for a specific reason, we'll get to that at the end, to absolute claustrophobia. Kind of symbolizing that everything poor King Aerys tries to do goes beyond his scope, gets out of hand, and he's blinded by the materials of everything that he tries to do. When we are watching the scene of Rhaenyra at the table with the big old white dress, wink a wink and nudge a nudge, and a hairstyle that's very reminiscent of Cersei Lannister in season 1, episode 1, we see, okay, everyone's in, everyone's playing their part, and we see the Hightowers walk in, the House Hightower, and they walk through the grand hall, and then we get good old Bronze Man Royce walking up to say something cool. But even beyond everything that's happening with the pageantry, then enters the Valyrians in a shot that symbolizes these guys have had the power the entire episode. While we were talking about dragons in the detail, every interaction we've had between Corlys and King Aerys, Corlys had the upper hand. And as soon as he walked in with his whole family mobbing deep, you pretty much should have been playing Biggie Smalls' Hail to the King. Just walking through the entire thing with the entire family looking regal AF. All right. They're going, yeah, guess what? I went. And in between them, you got big old dad and Princess Niecy just leading that clan in. And it was just amazing. But from the moment they walked in, they were followed by the dude you just can't kick out of the bar. Every time you throw him out of the bar, you go back, and by the time you get back to behind the bar, there he is, sitting at the theme. The Norm of King's Landing, good old Daemon Targaryen, going, "Sup? Came down for the wedding. How you doing? How you doing? What's up, big brother? Hey, how you doing? Guess what? Got a new haircut. We doing the thing." And I gotta say, and I know I'm in the minority here, but poor King Aerys with well, he's here, somebody get him a chair. Oh, yeah. Just don't mess up my daughter's wedding day. Just don't mess up don't mess up my daughter's wedding feast. This is going to be a cool party. This is going to be a thing. And every time he tries to do something cool, like rule a kingdom, he just can't keep it together.
Poor Viserys.
You know, he really can't. He is actually run by the weak force of physics, and all of his molecules just keeps getting pushed apart, pushed apart. But we still have that sense of grandeur. And as Rhaenyra and Laenor start their little dance, and they have a nice little rapport, like, hey, this is a marriage of convenience, but we're actually pretty good friends. So let's just smile for the camera, do all that thing, and let's hope this turns out as well as we think. So, you know, you almost got them thinking of, so, who is it that you're taking home? Oh, you know, I got my dude over there. Is it that redheaded guy that came in with all you guys and all that stuff? Well, you know, my family is a little dark, so we're with the big guy. You know, who do you think the big white guy would be? My cook? You know, kind of thing happening on that. And it was all great and dandy. And then, of course, they started... when the king gave his speech about uniting the houses, boom, we had Alicent coming in her first slow motion entrance, as they would say in the Not Another Teen movie. And when she walked in from the she's all that moment, every single shot started getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You know, we didn't get any more establishing shots. And of course, during the dance, we're trying to see things from the perspective of not just King Viserys, but from the throne itself. We got to see what the Iron Throne is looking at and all of the, I'm not going to say chaos, but all of the Brownian motion that happens around it that it tends to cause. From seeing the fun conversation between Uncle Touchy and Princess Rhaeray in Valerian, to, of course, you know, Papa Three Fingers not being able to see. And then we have the two really intimate conversations that lead to pandemonium. Okay, the tight whisper shots between Laenor and not that Joffrey, but Joffrey, saying, you know, if we know who her paramour is, we can kind of like strike up this like 4-way agreement, watch each other's back, kind of like be back to back to back to back to back. And he figures it out. He figures it's Sir Bay of Simple Man. And that leads to yet another tight shot between, no, seriously, not that Joffrey, but he has the ending we wanted for Joffrey. And of course, Sir Vavoom of, or Sir Snitch of Vavoom Face. And, so we have that, and we could see the boiling stuff going on in him. And again, we move yet again to claustrophobic paranoia to finally the explosion of the fight. And the fight is very important because all of the claustrophobia and the chaos that we see on screen within that 10 minutes is priming us and prepping us with discomfort so that when the fight starts, everyone is confused. Every single person is confused. From Viserys to Princess Rhaeray to future... what is the name of the position? Prince Consort Laenor. No one knows what's going on. All we hear is a scream and a whole bunch of everybody running around. Now, when I was a younger man and I went to concerts, I've seen many fights break out in mosh pits and riots, and this was very much captured by someone who was probably at Woodstock 99. And so once we have all that, you know, we get the very quick shot of the good hand telling his little brother, yo, get the princess out of there because this is going to get ugly. And good old Bonebreaker Strong going, you know, I'm always getting her out of trouble, be it in the alleys over by the whorehouses or in the living room. But you know what? That's my job. I guess I'll just pick her up. I'm just a gold cloak. I don't want the white cloak and all that stuff. And then we get the fight scene that is more visceral than almost any other fight scene in this entire franchise. Um, we're watching just the visceral nature of um Kristen, we'll call it red and speckled, not quite white knight, just pounding Joffrey's face in like his last name were Baratheon and we all got our wish. And, the breaking of his arm, the fact that he was essentially pushing everyone back. He even gave that strong right hand to Prince Laenor himself. Like everything had just been stuck. And the claustrophobia of the scene was building along with Sir Bay of finally lost its temper, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and a sense of overwhelmingness. And of course, from there, we go directly to the shotgun wedding and a stain on the floor. So we have this big explosion, almost like the Doom of Valeria itself, considering that this is all chaos brought about by the Valyrian bloodlines. And it leads to a dark room with rotten food, a shotgun wedding, a whole bunch of proper tears, and followed by the deterioration of the king. So this scene was very, very, very perspective and experiential based. When we have these shots of getting tighter and tighter and more crowded and not chaotic, just more active with more camera movement, more people on the camera getting closer and closer and crossing and speaking languages and having conversations. It was literally like 4 episodes of Game of Thrones happening in one scene until it all hit the boiling point with what we've come to know as the penultimate finale of a season. So I think that this was well put together. Like, did you guys notice some stuff that I haven't mentioned yet? We'll start with you this week, Sam, because you're like that student in class that's almost like hiding behind his paperwork.
No, I think you, I mean, like you hit a lot of the stuff that you hit most of it. I think the one thing that I didn't like about, I think the whole episode was whenever Alicent walks in and, the Strong brothers are talking to each other. I didn't really like how they spelt everything out. Like when Alicent walked in, they were like, oh, she's in green. Oh, she's interrupting the king. It's like, no, yeah, we see that. I see it. I know, I get it. So that was like the only part that I was just like, that was unnecessary. I would have rather just seen Alicent walk slowly up and like that could have been it. But like you mentioned, like the scenes getting like tighter and claustrophobic. I was like stressed out that entire like even before the fight, like you could just feel like something was happening, like the tension was high. So I definitely felt like the tightness of the scenes. It was
and I get what you
you
mean about I definitely get what you mean about the "Can you hear me in the back" dialogue.
Yeah. I just didn't need that part, but it was still. I still liked it. Don't get me wrong. It was just that part. I was just like, I don't need that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Uzma, how about you?
You're muted, Uzma.
Oops, I started speaking.
Okay.
I'll mark this clip.
I was afraid you went to the bathroom or something. I'm like, oh no.
Okay, so Alicent showing up and interrupting the king's speech was a huge moment, and I loved how they showed it. Like everything just stopped, and they just focused on Alicent and her expression. She was really mad, and this was the fourth person to undermine Viserys at this point. If you
That
will count.
day, practically, yeah.
So you can see how much Viserys is losing control over it. And she just walked in over there. And as you guys said everything, yes, there was the fighting scene. It was really surprising because it came out of nowhere. Because when Joffrey talked to Christian Cole, it seemed like everything was okay. He was done. He just moved on. He after that, then they were dancing, and you can see from Christian Cole's expression that everything is building up inside him. He is trying to tolerate it, but he can't like take it anymore. And then suddenly the fight broke out. And it was hard to see who started that fight. You can't see who threw the first punch, but I think we can all guess who who did it. There was a short clip where when you paused it, you can see a person with black hair falling back. So it might have been Christian Cole. So that was the fight we only got a glimpse of, and behind from there. And okay, what do you think, Constance?
Well, I want to bring up something that my husband had brought up, that the closing scene of the shotgun wedding is juxtaposed with the harikari of Christian Cole, right? Where he's in the Weirwood, he's got his sword, he's ready to take his own life to defend his honor, and Alicent walks in and just says his name. When does that take place? Because she's clearly in the last scene when the king collapses. So when does she go to him in the Weirwood and say, "Don't kill yourself, I've got other plans for you"? Does that take place before or after?
Cinematically speaking, I would say it took place before.
That was my guess, yeah.
Yeah, given that, again, that whole cross-cutting and all that stuff, and I think Silence of the Lambs spoiled us with when you see cross-cutting like that, it is absolutely something that's happening simultaneously. Like, no, they're raiding the wrong house kind of thing. Spoilers for a 30-year-old movie, by the way. But yeah, but the second bit is, what's really important with all of this, when it comes to the juxtaposition and Alicent really asserting her power or really deciding to become a player in the game, it's very much the thing that happens before. Because if she had just bailed on the king after he fell down with a bloody face, there's no recovering from that. But during the gathering of everyone to have that shotgun wedding and getting the septon down there and making sure that the faces are at least not as bloody as they could be, there was a good 20-30 minutes, just in clearing out the hall.
That's what I thought.
After the fight.
Yeah. My thought was Christian Cole would have gone straight away. Like, as soon as he walked out of the hall, he went to go himself.
With that whole dating myself, Jimmy Swaggart, I have sullied my honor twice in the same week, and so that was very much a Kristen Cole then wedding, then crumbling of the Leper King kind of thing, just cinematically speaking.
Morgan, my dear, you have been awfully quiet. It's your turn.
During that scene, the fight at the end, which turned very one-sided, I don't think my emotional reaction was the intention of the director. Because
go on.
What I saw was a queer man go and try to protect his ability to keep his lover, and then a straight man beat him to death.
Okay.
And I have seen this in many movies. I don't think that was the intention here, but that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me in a way.
Oh, please, go on, because
I mean, I don't want to get into the gay panic defense or the trans panic defense kind of stuff. But we see them have a discussion, walk away from each other. Later, we see him beating him well past the point of death, just smashing him until his face is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
This is more than I don't like you or you're a threat to me. This is, you represent something that I hate.
Okay.
That you are disgusting to me and I will destroy you. That is how I read that scene. And then I got to see Laenor grieve. And yeah, that hit me a lot.
In truth, I'm glad you brought that up because we have been looking at this from a very heteronormative lens. And this is very much one of those things where a lot of perspectives can just go right past somebody that isn't living in the middle of it. So seriously, thank you for bringing that up. That is a lens I'll have to rewatch the whole thing through as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, please go on if there's more. Yeah.
I don't know if there's more, but I am going to get into a little more probably when we get into our questions, because I've got questions regarding this in the next segment.